Well, ho ho ho, and welcome to the top 10 worst Christmas songs. Christmas music sure is weird, isn't it? Want something that was bought out for the December period as your compilation CDs would get a few spins before sitting on the shelf to gather dust for the ensuing 11 months, is now an inescapable bear moth that rules the charts the moment November rolls around.
Want a lot for Christmas.
So it begins.
As streaming now counts towards a song's charting position, Christmas songs from the last 75 years now regularly squat in the Billboard and other charts around the world for a few months, all asking each other the same question: is anyone ever going to take over the number one slot for Mariah Carey? Whether it could be something you can largely ignore, you can't deny the undeniable charm that Christmas music has on us. Like the old brass band that plays in my local supermarket near me every year, there's just something magical about how this music this time of year can bring us together, and how the classics will endure for years to come. But enough of that shit, we're here for the worst of the worst. You know how I roll here, I keep it casual, and if you can think of a bad Christmas song I didn't mention, leave it below for everyone else to see. This list is going to consist of the obvious ones you can think of, hopefully a few surprises along the way, and that awkward conversation. Yep, exactly the one you're thinking of. We'll get to it and get it over with as quick as possible. Before we start, can I just ask you for two simple clicks? Like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and lastly, if YouTube kicks up a fuss about copyright in certain sections, then some places will be blurred out as to not get the video taken down. So let's start the countdown. Number 10. Okay, let's start things off nice and easy.
Grandma got run over by a reindeer.
Actually, I know a few people who enjoy this one. It's not entirely without its merit. It's got that nice bouncy bluegrass rhythm and blues feel to it. That'll get your feet tapping, if you like that sort of thing. And comedy, as always, is subjective. There's definitely an audience out there for this, but it's not for me. And it lies squarely on the shoulders of our lead performer, Elmo Shropshire, who, in his defence, singing isn't even his first career. He was actually a vet before his retirement, and from his Facebook page, he's a bit of a runner too, so I feel some kind of kinship with the guy. Granted, it would take an astronomical level of comedic charm and charisma to rival Weird Al himself, just to be able to pull off these lyrics. Like, 1 minute she's dead and Grandpa is over the moon at this? They're all dressed in black for a funeral, and then she turns up alive and well and everything is now fine. I fully recognise this is a generational thing, and despite all the hate this gets, I don't think it's all justified. There's a good song in here that I think could have been salvaged with a more accomplished performer, and it's definitely of its time. It's just not for me. Number 9. Remember young Justin Bieber? It feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? When seemingly all the internet converged onto the YouTube videos of a young Mr. Bieber and rained down hundreds upon thousands of dislikes and abusive comments towards an actual child. Side note, and on the topic, go listen to Anyway by Rebecca Black. She's doing amazingly well for herself, and you should totally go support her and see what she's been up to over the years. I was there sitting on the sidelines watching all of this go down, and it was rough and a terribly toxic time that shows no sign of letting up still. It could have ended very badly, and while he obviously went through several rough patches, to say the very least, I'm glad he's still around. It's a credit to the character that he showed and the mental fortitude to get through all of that, and he's definitely got a good song or two in him that I like. But yeah, the Christmas song he did isn't very good.
It's the most beautiful time of the year.
This is the wonder wall of Christmas songs. You can just picture it at a party, can't you? The guitar's in the corner, someone picks it up, starts strumming 4 chords, you know. Everyone's swaying, eating mince pies and having a good time. And then Justin starts saying shorty. Which has been pointed out by many people at this point. You don't let Justin Bieber do that. Especially a 17-year-old Justin Bieber at the time. Which songwriter am I blaming for this? Let's have a little look and find out. Huh. Well, from one terrible set of lyrics to another, I guess. Also, the delivery on With You and all the over-the-top double-vocaled melismas just destroys any kind of intimacy of sharing a kiss with someone special. It's all just so overbearing in vocals all over the place, taking away from the guitar and percussion that actually sounds okay. As I said, I'm glad Bieber's doing much better for himself now, but maybe Christmas music isn't your thing.
Yeah, I'm on the drum, yeah, I'm on the snare drum. Yeah, I'm on the beat cause the beat goes dumb. And I only spit heat cause I'm playing for the sun.
Yeah, I think I'll take the David Bowie and Bing Crosby version. Number 8. Well, from one mistletoe to another.
The child is a king, the carolers sing.
I don't normally feel like I have to give a history lesson a lot of the time with most artists, but Cliff Richard only saw limited success in both America and Canada, so I'll give a brief history on the guy. He's been a household name in the UK for a career spanning over 60 years at this point, originally starting in an instrumental rock band of all things called The Shadows, who I actually quite like a fair bit. But when he moved away from that, a lot of his work moved towards Christian music. The song itself was famously performed by the actress Twiggy in the 1987 musical adaptation of the Hans Christian Andersen novel Little Match Girl, which, fun fact, also stars Roger Daltrey of The Who fame of all people. But here it is, sung wonderfully by Twiggy herself. It may be an acquired taste for some, accent and all, but there's a lot of charm and heart to this that I find within. Let's see what Cliff Richard does with it.
Christmas time, mistletoe and wine, children singing Christian rhyme.
He removes any form of edge and makes easy listening mush, because it was, the late 80s and everyone was making easy listening mush. I don't mind that type of music at all. Hell, I actually quite like a lot of it from a production standpoint. And if you can get a good vocalist, you'll probably be able to win me over. But this is saccharine, cloying, and every instrument behind Cliff Richard's weedy voice sounds unbelievably cheap. From the gooey bass to whatever the hell this thing is. Congratulations on having a career that's lasted this long, Cliff, but I'm gonna go listen to my old Shadows records. Number 7. Okay, this one has been done to death at this point. I'm gonna try and get through it all without repeating points you've already heard before, so we can just move on quickly. Yeah, you knew this one was coming. I've specifically gone for the 1985 version here, but honestly they're all terrible.
You ain't gotta feel guilt, just selfless. Give a little help to the helpless.
They know it's Christmas time and
You can easily point out that everyone's just here for good publicity and they didn't really care, and obviously if they did, they just put their hands into their own pockets and donate themselves, rather than trying to encourage the general public to go and buy the song. But there's a lot of people here who've done amazing work for charity before this, so I don't think that mindset is entirely correct. Also, most of the ensemble cast here were already household names before this and had sold millions of records beforehand. Some people just want to do something good with their already established platform. As hard as that may seem to believe at these harsh times, I genuinely believe that to be the case here. But the whole charity single ensemble cast approach I feel immediately shoots itself in the foot before anyone's recorded anything. Because if you've got that many different voices all competing with each other for mic time, it just creates a jumble where you're trying to figure out who's singing what and keep all the different tones and styles of voices together. It's a mammoth-sized task to try and create something as tonally coherent as possible, while also arranging it to give anyone with an ego what they want so they don't get cranky. And speaking of egos, yeah, you know where this is going.
Well, tonight, thank God it's them instead of you.
Yeah, the much derided thank the big guy upstairs that someone is worse off than you. And yeah, I know that's not how it's supposed to come across, but there was enough of you in the room to realise how this could have come across. It's later changed on re-recordings to this.
Well, tonight we're reaching out and touching you.
Please do not try and touch me, Bono. Cheers. Mentioning the lines about snow and rivers flowing feels tiresome and overdone at this point, and even the later versions where they try and change the lyrics just has the effect of dressing up a turd as a slightly prettier turd. But you know what's not overdone? Any of the instrumentation. Yeah, I rarely hear any complaints about just how undercooked it all is, from the weak synth line on the chorus to the cheap Casio on the verses, and it all leads to Phil Collins overdoing it everywhere else. It definitely deserves to be on the list here for all of the reasons and more. Please don't remake this for a fourth time, Bob. Please. Number 6. Well, it's time. Let's get this over with, and as it's Christmas time, please pray for me.
I really can't stay.
Baby, it's cold outside.
I've got to go away.
Baby, it's cold.
It's at this point I'd like to remind you that timestamps are in the description box below, and if you're as tired of the baby it's cold outside discussion that seems to get dragged up every single Christmas and just refuses to die, then the Dishonourable mentions are up next and are much more fun. We're going to be covering the original 1944 version written by Frank Loesser and performed by Margaret Whiting and Johnny Mercer in 1949. Although most of the recordings around that time are very similar in style and delivery. Put a pin in that thought. And that being said, brace yourself for this, there are over 400 recordings of this song out there. 400. 400. Here's just a few of them on screen. I'm not going to listen to all of them, so I'm just going to say it's between Jessica Simpson and Avril Lavigne for the best version. Sorry, one sec. Hey, Richard, you're going to lose subscribers if you keep playing the accursed video for this song. Do you want to change it to some penguins or something? There we go. Where was I? Oh yeah. I find the history of this song kind of funny, as it was originally written by Loesser to sing with his wife at a housewarming party. You can even go as far as saying it's not even a Christmas song, it makes no reference to the holidays, only that it's clearly set in the wintertime. It was used as a way of indicating to guests that it was time to leave the party. They both made quite a name for themselves at the time, and Loesser sold the song to the film studio MGM for use in the 1949 romantic comedy Neptune's Daughter. It even won an Oscar that year for Best Original Song. Yeah, I know, I'm stalling. It's because the discussion around this song is just so very tiresome, and I feel like I'm just enabling it further by talking about it more. I see this image on the boomer side of my Facebook appear every year, along with a few others. I think if you really push people to discuss the song further, you find out they don't really care about it all that much. They just don't like being told what to think, and they feel like something's been taken away from them. And yeah, there's definitely a case where we shouldn't just be burying the past and forgetting that songs exist. We should be using it as a way to learn about previous generations. So we've got two sides. The one that claims to care about musical history and preservation for keeping an almost 80-year-old song alive by complaining that it's not played on the radio. But it's not like the song's been deleted from history. You can still stream it from several popular places, or just download it if you cared that much. And the other side that states that a lot of the lyrics are problematic. Which, yeah, if you put them in front of you and go over them without doing the history lessons worth of research, they clearly are. There's no two ways about it. You can say it was from a different time and a different era all you like, but sometimes songwriting doesn't age well, and that's just the way it goes. Loesser passed away over 50 years ago, so we can't exactly dig him up and yell at him.
Good day, I'm Bob the Necromancer, and today we're doing an unboxing.
Also, he wrote the music and lyrics for Guys and Dolls, which is widely considered one of the greatest musicals ever written, so he was way more than just this one song. So, how about I present a third side away from all this tiresome discourse? This song is just plain bad because there's absolutely zero chemistry between the two leads. Yeah, this is supposed to be some kind of playful flirting back and forth, I mustn't stay, what will the neighbours think? But they're just tripping over each other's words, which just has the appearance of two awkward wallflowers instead of two potential lovers. And going back to that pin, a lot of the recordings around this time do the exact same thing.
This evening has
Been hoping that you drop in.
very nice.
I'll hold your hand.
Vocally it sounds okay, no one's off key at all, but if you want to build chemistry and a sense of romance, yeah, don't sing over each other, it sounds more confrontational than romantic. If we could just put all the drama and discourse surrounding the lyrics to one side for a second, this simple misstep absolutely kills the song for me. I'm glad I got to add my 2 cents to the conversation here. I do think there's merit in having a reasonable discussion about the past, rather than just trying to bury it. And there it is. Turns out the song's not very good when you divorce all the talk from it. Man, am I glad to get past that one. Let's get to the dishonourable mentions and the weird ones. A late entry into the canon of Christmas music here. This one has that nice kind of bounce to the brass band section that always puts a spring in my step whenever I hear a Christmas song in that style, so it's got that going for it. It's also intentionally, or unintentionally, I'll leave for you to decide that one, about cancel culture.
Christmas isn't canceled, just you.
Because yeah, that's really what you want in your joyful holiday songs, potentially toxic drama and the social and professional isolation of someone. I get it, she's breaking up with the guy, she's air quotes cancelling the relationship. But the mere mention of the word in this day and age brings a whole load of connotations that just sound awkward placed alongside a jaunty Christmas backdrop. I love you, Kelly, but this ain't it for me. Hey, do you want to hear the famous Lord's Prayer sung to the tune of Auld Lang Syne? No? Yeah, me neither. Anytime you're unlucky enough to see a Star Wars debate online because insert various scenario where this thing happening is the worst thing to happen in Star Wars ever. Well, obviously don't debate with the person for the sake of your own sanity, just play this to yourself and have a little chuckle.
R2, Merry Christmas.
A 5-minute Christmas funkatorium here that honestly feels like 50. If this isn't the sound of a record company forcing a band to do something they clearly didn't want to do, I don't know what is. Yep, have a funky, funky Christmas. If you can be bothered, I guess. If you're all familiar with Sean's video on British #1 songs Americans have never heard of, you'll be familiar with Mr. Blobby. You may not know he also had a Christmas song. Let's see how that turned out for him, courtesy of one of 2 slideshow videos edited on Windows Movie Maker on YouTube, which are the only uploads that can be found for this song. Yeah, sums it all up really. Moving on. Oh, don't give me that look, this song is bad and you know it. People play Whamageddon every single year to try and avoid hearing this song. You don't hear of another Christmas song where people play a game just to avoid listening to it. It's a real shame that this is one of Wham and George Michael's best known songs because he was a fascinating and musically diverse artist. Seriously, check this out. The world misses you more than ever, George. I hope you're at peace now. And speaking of Last Christmas, want to hear an uncredited session musician do a dance remix of Last Christmas while the frog goes... No? Yes, I know Mike the Snare unironically loves you, Mr. Frog, but for the love of God, put on some trousers and stop shitting NFTs, you creepy blue fuck. And that's the dishonourable mentions done. Now for the top 5. Number 5. Okay, so this one was never actually released in America as a single, and its success across Europe and the rest of the world is all over the place. It's mostly known in the UK. This one might be a bit controversial, and I also have to put in a trigger warning here for topics of suicide. Again, timestamps are in the box below if you want to skip this one. On first glance, this is a pretty harmless little 90s ballad about the thought you're going to miss someone when they leave, and that you want them to stay with you. Cute concept for a boy band to do. Then you learn that it was written by frontman Tony Mortimer about his brother's suicide. I kind of wish I didn't know that, because once you do, the song takes on a completely different path. And I can't hear the song in the same way that I used to. Tony said when writing it that it was all based upon conversations that he'd had with his brother and that he was trying to change it into a love song about the end of a relationship, which, you know, if you didn't know everything I've just said, it probably helps explain something like this.
I touch your face while you are sleeping and hold your hand, don't understand what's going on.
I'm not even mad about a song like this. I've heard it so many times in my life, I'm just kind of numb to it. The song itself just feels entirely stitched and stapled together, like it had a design plan at one point, but people have been trying to take it in several different directions, rather than having an actual concrete plan about what it should have been, or just scrapping it completely and starting from square one again. It's also a song on the list that never mentions the word Christmas, or the holiday season. That's because Christmas bells are just randomly added in at the outro as if to say, hey, it's got bells. It totally counts a Christmas song, and now we can place it towards that lucrative Christmas market. It just feels so cynical, and the monotone low-effort vocals are not helping. They just use the same cut from the chorus for the outro as the song is amping up, reaching a climax. And it just feels like no effort is being put into the vocal side for what should be an emotional and moving song. It's become a radio staple around the Christmas holidays over here, and I'm glad the band has a reliable source of royalties in a COVID era that's harder on bands than it ever has been. I just wish it was for a song that didn't turn out like this. Number 4.
Never seen you looking so lovely as you did tonight. I've never seen you shine so bright.
While we're on a worst list, allow me to play one of my least favourite songs of all time. This is Lady in Red by Krista Berg. It is everything wrong with the late 80s to early 90s era of easy listening music, and if you were to ask people why this period was so rough for charting popular music, they could just point to this and not say a word. You could class this song as being clinically dead for just how phenomenally limp and lifeless it is, with a tempo that sounds like it's being dragged through quicksand, an embarrassing lack of groove and guitar work that could be played by someone within 5 minutes of picking up one for the first time. And it's all accompanied by Krista Berg's limp, wispy croak of a voice, pathetically romancing a woman with all the charisma of Freddy Krueger.
There's nobody here. It's just you and me.
And it all leads to just a thoroughly unpleasant listening experience from front to back. So it's no surprise his Christmas song is pretty crap too. Half of what you could say about Lady in Red could also apply to this. However, the production and composition here is actually great. All the synth work, guitar swells, the electric Casio sounds good too. The lyrics speak of an adapted tale of the Christmas story of Jesus. But here, he is visited by an extraterrestrial visitor instead. There's numerous religious references throughout the song, and hey, there's very few things that can't be improved by aliens. The alien theme and sound brought up here made me think of Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds of all things when I first heard this. But unfortunately we don't have Jeff Wayne, or Richard Burton, or Justin Hayward. We have Krista Berg.
And it went
Krista Berg's voice is terrible again, just this wispy, thin nothing of a vocal that needs all of the reverb and production help on the chorus. And when he belts in the outro, it's hilariously terrible. One of my joys at Christmas is hearing this on the radio, and every time they get to this outro, the DJ at the time just cuts in and talks over it. Every time, without fail, as if to say, yeah, I don't want to hear the Lady in Red guy try and belt from the top of his lungs, and I don't want to inflict that on you either. Put any other vocalist on this and it's not in the 10 here. That's how bad Krista Berg is. Not much more to add really, so here's a Gregorian choir version of the same song. I don't know, just lay back and imagine you're on the streets of Whiterun from Skyrim. Number 3. Okay, so I've had 2 very difficult songs to discuss on this list. I'm going to pick an easy target again, because yeah, I'm with you on this one, Melon. Is this the most polarising Christmas song ever? It certainly feels like it, as in recent years, commentary on it feels louder than ever. But if you avoid that, I've found the vast majority of people outside of the music criticism sphere on YouTube and wherever enjoy it for what it is, and it rarely ever gets a skip. But oh man, years upon years of listening to this have not been kind to it at all. The flaws are just so front and centre, that god-forsaken synth sound.
Simply having a wonderful Christmas time.
It's just so sharp and in your face, and it's jagged in all the wrong ways. I ain't having a wonderful Christmas time, Paul. I'm constantly on edge. And if I was on edge beforehand, adding a demonic child choir is not helping me.
Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding.
The song just has a feel of someone kicking down the door, holding everyone at gunpoint and giving Paul and the gang 10 minutes to come up with a Christmas song. It just feels like improv and no one can come up with more than 2 ideas, which they then stretch to the point of an average radio runtime and call it a day. Paul's legend status is obviously never going to be in question. The fact that films and books are still being made about the Beatles' legacy to this day, with new and different outlooks that shows the influence is still very much felt and appreciated, and he's still consistently making good music in his 80s. The infamous Christmas song just doesn't work for me. Number 2. Okay, real talk, I really struggled for 10 songs here. I got to 9 and then I started looking through various worst Christmas songs ever lists to check I hadn't missed one, and most of them cover the usual songs you can think of and a whole load of obscure ones it kind of feels cheap to put here. One list had a song I'd never heard of though. I gave it a listen and immediately found my final pick.
It was almost Christmas time, and there I stood in another line.
We once again dive into Christian music. Hey, it's Christmas after all. For the band's new song, a 40-year-strong band famous in the Christian music genre itself, but like most Christian-leaning acts, it's relatively unknown outside of that genre. The song itself starts off not revealing its hand quite yet. We've got an easy listening angle, again it's Christmas, and a child is trying to buy the perfect pair of shoes for his mum. But they don't have enough money, and it's all from the perspective of a guy standing behind the kid at the store. That's a pretty good subject to write about, and a pretty interesting way of looking at it. How on earth could you mess this up?
Daddy says there's not much time. You see, she's been sick for quite a while, and one or two look beautiful if Mama meets Jesus tonight.
A kid would like to purchase these shoes for his mum before she dies so she can look good for Jesus. I am rarely ever left speechless by a song of all things, but this, no. Jaw was entirely on the floor on the first listen, and I believe just playing you that one line from the chorus is going to be enough to justify its high spot here. I mean, I could go into detail about the cashier saying there's not enough money here and Jesus acting like he's a nightclub bouncer who won't let you in the club if your shoes aren't on point, but we are so far gone with the chorus already. And speaking of justify, guess what this song also has?
Sir, I wanna buy these shoes for my mama, please.
Yep, it's not just for 90s and 2000s boy bands, we gotta bring in a key change in case you didn't think this song was over the top in all the wrong ways already. Sorry, did I mention being over the top? We gotta sing right from the very soul as well, and don't forget to bring in the child choir.
And I knew that caught a glimpse of heaven's love as he thanked me and ran out.
Sir, I wanna buy these shoes for my mama, please.
I swear, this song has just broken me entirely. You guys know you're in control of the songwriting narrative, right? Why does the mum have to be dying? Just change the words so it's about a boy wanting to buy a present for his mum. And, you know, while you're also in control of the songwriting narrative,
I knew that God had sent that little boy to remind me what Christmas is all about.
no, we're done. We're done dissecting this turkey. This song is widely unknown to a large audience, and I now feel responsible I've brought it to your attention. But at least you know to stay as far away from it as humanly possible. Number 1. It's poetic, really. As sick of Christmas music as we get, maybe there's something to that. Finding the holiday staples we've grown out every year and mutually disliking them together. In the end, isn't the spirit of that togetherness with friends and family what Christmas is all about? Well, anyway, the worst Christmas song ever is the 12 Days of Christmas.
First day of Christmas, my true love sent to me a partridge in a pear tree.
Okay, so the earliest known publication of the words for this one date back to the late 18th century, and that's what we're going to be discussing. We're going to be discussing the 1909 arrangement done by composer Frederick Austin. The history lessons for this one could run long into the night, bringing up religion and every possible language version this has been done in, but all you need to know for the purposes of this list is all the information I could find for it led to early sources saying it was less of a song and more of a memory game, where the singer had to remember what came next in a list of 12 different things. And there it is right there. This isn't a song, it's a game of memory. What comes next? Is it the geese? Is it the swans? A maid's milking? How many hens are there? A lord's jumping or leaping? Doing this unlocks a bad early Christmas memory of mine, going to a church hall with a school and being handed a sheet of lyrics and singing. And by singing I mean mouthing the words under my breath and hoping no one would notice. I don't care that the song length says 4 minutes, it feels like 20. Every single time I hear this, just this endless barrage of nonsense that keeps going and going and going, with that cloying, repeating melody line that's just an intense level of irritating. And to all of this, you might say, well, it's a song which originates from centuries ago. Aren't you being a little harsh on a religious staple? Okay, let's put an orchestra behind it and a bigger choir as well.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a partridge in a pear tree. On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me.
Yeah, this is worse. There's about 40 different people here all doing the over-exaggerated melismas and various ranges that sound like they're all auditioning for the X Factor but refuse to be seen one at a time. Okay, maybe there's a way to salvage this. Maybe we can modernise it even more, properly bring it into the 21st century. There must be a way we can...
On the sixth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 6 geese a laying, 5 golden rings,
4 calling birds,
3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree.
Yeah, this song is irredeemable and utterly insufferable from every single conceivable angle. Yeah, you can say it's a cheap shot at a carol whose origins date back centuries, but it's still a Christmas staple to this day. So I think I'm absolutely justified in calling it the worst Christmas song. And that's the list. Thank you very much for watching. Again, a like and a subscribe would be the perfect Christmas present for me right now. I've just started a Patreon page and I've got a busy schedule next year for releasing music, along with some Billboard relating content alongside that. It's a single tier, £2 a month gets your name in the end credits and helps support the channel keep going so that future content like this is possible. Again, thank you so much for watching, have a wonderful Christmas, and I'll see you next time.